Hello, welcome back to Put the Tip In. It is the 20th of November. We're fast approaching the end of the month. We're two-thirds of the way through. The horses ain't going well. Well, we're finding winners, but I'm tearing them wrong, and it's getting frustrating. So to go through yesterday, none of our tier one did anything. I went wrong, the wrong way of two horses in the 540 at Kempton. And the others just it went wrong of the two choices in the 355 at Dundalk. Yeah, just like it's the tier system appears to be restricting it a bit, so I think I'm gonna have to change it a little bit. Um, I had someone comment yesterday about like clarity, and I thought I was pretty clear, to be fair, in terms of like my staking. My opinion is I'll calculate everything to a £5 each way stake, but you guys can choose how to do that. I obviously shop around for extra places. However, I understand I could really be clear on places and things like that, and today I'm going to try that. A little bit different because Sky is down, so I can't look at them as my prime example. So I'm actually going to use Will Hill and talk to you about the places that I want, I think we should bet on. In the overpriced category, however, we nailed it. We had Thirsty Owl placed at 12 to 1. We had Bellywood placed at 16 to 1. And we had Nebras Rainbow win at 16 to 1. Um, if you did all of the overpriced horses to a £5 each way stake, you'd have returned £144, meaning you were £104 up. What a day in that. Like, fair play. I managed to pick some winners. I think this is the thing, right? I could clip that out, and that would, to me, be dishonest. Um, I don't really want to be clipping stuff out just for the sake of it and kind of going, oh, look, I found a 16 to 1 winner. If the day wasn't phenomenal. I know other people do that. Yeah, not personally for me. If that's something I mean, I know it would naturally grow my channel, but yeah, just not for me. On the channel, we are on 94 subscribers. I need 6 more, and I will do a video kind of talking to you about um a few, I guess, issues and things I'm going through and why I'm doing this. It would mean a lot to me if we could hit that 100 subscriber mark. Um, I've got something actually tomorrow to do with all of that. So I guess on the other side of that appointment, it would be really cool to be able to chat to you guys. So if 6 more of you could subscribe today, I'd really appreciate it. If you could share it, do whatever you need to, I would super appreciate it. However, let's get to today. So today I'm going to change stuff about a bit. Um, like I said, I mean, just to specify, yesterday, in reality, we made £54 on the day if you did £5 each way on every horse. Um, However, like I say, the tier system isn't working right now. I'll figure something out. I'm keeping the tier system for today, but I'm going to talk you through stuff a bit differently. I'm going to try and be as clear as possible. And that isn't meant to be a dig. Like, I want my product to be as good as possible, my content to be as good as possible for you. So, tier one, we start in the 1220 at Thurles, and there's a horse called Say It First. Now, this is already a 4 place race on most bookies. What I'm doing is going through via Will Hill because it gives you a lot more options on places. So this is already a 4 place race, and I think Say It First at 6 to 1 is very good value and a decent chance of winning. Second, the last couple of times, a very solid bet. All of these that I recommend, I'm going to calculate them off a £5 each way stake. But I would do the same for everything. That's how I work. So if you can afford to do £1 on each of these, it's up to you whether you want to do just tier one, tier one and tier two, and overpriced. Tier one's your bread and butter. I will be changing that due to kind of what's been going on. However, for now, we'll stick with it. The 210 at Wincanton is next. That is the 210 at Wincanton. Again, all of these are each way. This one is Tarantino. And 5 to 1. This horse for 3 places. Tarantino. I'm just gonna pull that up and check that's right. while I'm on. So 210 win Canton. I don't see why it wouldn't be. I've literally just done this because I've actually got the second part of that job interview later. So fingers crossed. Yeah, 5-1, 3 places. It's 3 places on all your bookies. It isn't worth going elsewhere because naturally you'll lose the each way piece of it. So 5-1 Tarantino. Just very solid, very consistent, not been out the top three in its last 4 runs, and therefore that to me sounds like solid each way. Now we're going to change it up a bit. So the 5:30 at Southall, and that is Harswell Duke. Now this horse, Harswell Duke, is if you were just to bet it on 3 places, I'm just going to check. Southall, 5. So if you were just to bet Harswell Duke on 3 or 4 places, as it is with most, you'd be looking at kind of like 15-2 or more. However, I found a nice little angle. So on Will Hill, Harswell Duke, you can get 6 places each way, and it is 5-1. I think that's solid. Harswell Duke is a relatively solid horse, but 5-1 for 6 places is lovely. So that's my recommendation. But if you want to take less places and get the better odds, that is of course fine because I am predicting. I'm saying this horse is a good thing. I'm just going looked round the markets and seen what I can, get that I think is good value. And the same thing applies to the 6:30 at Southall. The 6:30 at Southall. That horse is Popper Cocktail. Now, Popper Cocktail we've had before, pretty solid horse. It's won for us. It's placed for us. Not been out the top three in its last 6, so it's a relatively solid horse. However, this race I feel is a bit more wide open. So my approach to this is to take 5 places at Southall because you can get 6-1 on it at 4 places or 3 places. But to me, if I can get an extra place and it only reduces it to 5-1, why wouldn't I take that? So 5 places on Will Hill, Papa Cocktail is 5-1, and that's where I'd advise. They're your 4 horses in Tier 1. We'll now move on to Tier 2, where you've got 6 horses, but across 3 races. That's just because I've seen a lot of value in these races. So we'll start at the 220 at Warwick. Now, this is a wide open race with not loads of form, and so I think there's scope to take on the favourites. But because the favourites are quite low priced, I have seen some value again at Will Hill. So I would bet the 220 at Warwick, Blue Moon Lady at 6 places is 9-1. So that's Blue Moon Lady each way at 6 places at 9-1. And Noble Grace at 5 places. Noble Grace at 5 places at 13-2. Think that's the way to approach this race and take on. The same thing goes at the 6:45 at Newcastle. The 6:45 at Newcastle, and your 2 horses are Concert Boy, 6 places, 5-1. That is Concert Boy, 6 places, 5-1, and Imola, 5 places, 5-1. Imola, 5 places, 5-1. Like I've said, I like these horses. If you can't get these places or don't bet with Will Hill, just want to bet them 3 places, do what you like. I'm just going to give you as much information as I can. Finally, the 8:30 at Southall. The 8:30 at Southall. I like Appiah is probably the way I'm leaning, and that is 5 places at 5-1 Appiah. Whereas Cara May, I feel at this distance last year was solid. And ran in some far better races than this. However, we don't know how Cara May is going to return. Cara May, 6 places is 5-1. So Cara May, 6 places, 5-1. I think they're all very solid bets, especially with those extra places. We'll swap to the overpriced. So the overpriced today, we'll start at the 11:10 at Lingfield. The 11:10 at Lingfield. And Bay Warrior, you can get Bay Warrior with 5 places at 14-1. This is a solid bet. I really, really like this horse. I really like this bet. The 2:30 at Lingfield. That's the 2:30 at Lingfield. There's 2 horses here I like. Nimini Pimini and Fouet. That's Nimini Pimini and Fouet. Both you can get at 8-1 on 5 places. Again, all of these bets, every single one I have said is each way. I will tell you if it's not. Then the 255 at Warwick. That is the 255 at Warwick. You can get Settle Down Jill. Settle Down Jill, 11 to 2. 4 places. So 4 places in an 8 runner race, and you still get. And I think this horse is better, more than likely in the top 3. But I just like the safety net. I don't think you're losing a lot of value in betting at 4 places at 11 to 2. The 328 at Warwick. The 328 at Warwick. Got a bit of an outsider for you here. So I've put 6 places for this horse, but you can have whatever you like. 17 to 2 is 6 places, but I think it's 28 to 1. If you were to do 3 or 4, and that's Daring to Dream. Daring to Dream. I just think the form. I've looked at the horse, like conditions and distance. I think that might be the one. You've then got the 7:15. No, the 7 o'clock. The 7 o'clock at Southwell. The 7 o'clock at Southwell, and that is Wed LC, who is 9 to 1 at 5 places. Wed LC 9 to 1 at 5 places. Again, I actually can't believe this horse is this price. And finally, the 7:15 at Newcastle. The 7:15 at Newcastle. My Boy Jack. My Boy Jack. Now, I've recommended this at 5 places at 9 to 1. The reason being is this horse is so inconsistent. In all fairness, think you can bet it at 4 places if you want the value of the 4 places, and it was probably still get the same result. It's either happening or it's not. The horse is just up and down all the time. However, I think the return 6 furlongs will suit. So that hence the 5 places 9 to 1. I think is a decent bet. I hope that's been you've understood that. I've tried to be as clear as possible. I've looked at some different angles today. I thought I'd give it a trial. So all those bets are each way. Your stake, you can decide how many places you want, but I'm giving you my recommendation. And your stake is what you want it to be each way. I will tell you so you can get a good idea at £5 each way. But if you want to bet 50p each way, that's also fine. And you're also going to get the same results, but 10 times less. But the same results nonetheless. Like your profit margin is the same percentage, all of that. So, just something to watch today. If you're around, the 155 at Linkfield, I think is a really exciting race. More than likely, Fairy Glen and Understudy will both place, and I'm going to look for some value to see if I can find a bet where I can combine that. However, I think there's 3 outsiders who are live, especially with extra places, and that's Lifting Sales, Desert Spring, and PK. Lifting Sales, Desert Spring, and PK, all at pretty big odds. I think I'd take chances on those, but I can't narrow it down. In reality, Fairy Glen or Understudy probably win. I think Understudy more so. So it's not something I'm going to recommend. I just think it's a really good race to watch and exciting if you want to take it on. That's all your horses for today. I'm sorry it's a bit longer. I hope it's been understandable. Please subscribe. Please let me know in the comments whether you liked this format. We'll see whether the results change a little bit with this new, kind of extra place format. But yeah, fingers crossed for today. I will look at the tier system ready for next month, but we'll stick with it for now. We'll see how it goes to the end of the month. I don't want to, change anything dramatically in the middle of a month. That's why I did what I did right at the start of the month. Because I don't want it to kind of go and we just chop and change all the time. But there you go. I wish you all the best of luck, and I will see you later with some more content. Goodbye.